January 23rd, 2026, Buddha Dhamma, Section 4, A Worthy Life, by Somdet Prabhuta Gosa Acharya, English name, P.A. Payuto, Chapter 13, Initial Stage of Practice, 1. Skillful Words of Others and Virtuous Friendship, page 1313, 2, page 1323, 13.1, Introduction, 13.2, Way of Faith and Confidence, and 13.3, Importance of Good Companionship. Chapter 13, Virtuous Friendship. 13.1 Introduction, Initial Stage of Practice. As mentioned earlier in the previous chapter, Samadhi, right view, is a critical component of Magga, the path. It is the beginning point of practice and the first stage of Buddhist spiritual training. Samadhi, right view, needs to be generally and gradually developed, purified, and freed from biases until it is transformed into direct realization. The establishment of Samadhi, right view, is thus of vital importance. In the Tipitaka, the cultivation of Samadhi is described as follows. Bhikkhus, monks. There are two factors conducive to the arising of right view, the teaching of others, paratokosa, and wise reflection, yoniso manasikara. Two factors conducive to the arising of Samadhi. 1. Paratokosa, the proclamations of others' external influence or inducements, other people's teachings, advice, explanations, and transmissions, advertisements, information, news, written material, and schooling. Here it refers specifically to akusala teaching, wholesome teachings, in the particular to the transmission of Dhamma teachings, and to the knowledge of counsel reviewed by virtuous friends, kalaya nimitra. This is an external social factor. It can be described as the way of sattva, faith. Second, yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, analytical reflections, reason analysis, or systematic attention. To know how to reflect on things in an objective way, to apply reasoned thought, to inquire into the origin of things, to trace the entirety trajectory of phenomenon, and to analyze an object or a problem in order to see it in according to truth, in according to its interrelated causes and conditions, without allowing personal craving or attachment to interfere. This is an internal spiritual factor. It can be described by way of panya, wisdom. The following passage emphasizes the importance of these two factors in spiritual training. For a monk who is still in training, I do not see any other external factor that is so helpful as a good friendship. For a monk who is still in training, I do not see any other internal factor that is so helpful as wise reflection. These two factors are mutually supportive. Ordinary people whose wisdom is not yet proficient rely on the teachings and guidance of others. And if these teachings are presented skillfully, they can often progress quickly. Nevertheless, they must also train in the ability to think correctly for themselves if they are to reach the final goal. Those people who are proficient in wisdom are able to use wise reflection, but they may need to rely on the teaching of others for guidance, At the beginning stages of practice as a sport, to all accelerate their spiritual training, the establishment of samatiti, right view, by way of the first factor, paratokosa, the teaching of others, begins with and relies primarily on sattha, faith, which one applies this factor to the system of training. One must determine how to best receive advice and encouragement. That is, if one requires a teacher who has a superior attributes and abilities, and who uses effective means by teaching. For this reason, the definition of paratokosa is in training highlights the principle of virtuous friendship, kayana mitata. The second factor is yoniso manasikara. It is the principle for panya, wisdom. And so in the training, one needs to determine how best to support such wise reflection. When combining these two factors, virtuous friendship is considered an external factor, wise reflection an internal factor. Ultimately, if one associates with bad friends and thus receives false teachings, one applies unwise, incorrect reflection. Yoniso manasikara. The result is the opposite. One develops micha titi, wrong view. .2 Way of faith and confidence. The proclamations of others, paratokosa, giving rise to samatiti, right view, are those teaching which are virtuous and correct, reasonable and useful, and which explains the truth, especially those teachings stemming from sense of love and well-wishing. Virtuous teachings spring from a virtuous source, from a good, virtuous, and wise person, who is referred as the righteous man, sapurisa, or a learned person, pandita. If such righteous or learned person performs the duty of teaching others and engendering samatiti, right view, he or she is referred to as his beautiful, virtuous friend, kalaya mitra. When the term sapurisa is paired with the term Arya, the commentators offers various definitions. Arya refers to the awakened Gautama Buddha, while Sabaripusa refers to the silent Buddhas, the disciples of the Tathagata, or to all disciples. Alternatively, the two terms have the same meaning. When Sapurisa occurs on its own, it refers to the Gautama Buddha and all aforementioned individuals. The term Pandita can be used in reference to Gautama Buddha and all other aforementioned individuals. Generally speaking, the term Arya, Sapurisa, and Pandita have overlapping meanings and are occasionally used interchangeably. But if one is to speak strictly according to Gautama Buddha's words, the term Pandita refers to someone who has reached the two benefits, atta, described in earlier chapters. There are also some additional technical definitions for a Pandita. The term Sapurisa refers to a person with specific attributes described below. If one is in search of samatiti, right view, one does not need to wait until the righteous or virtuous person seeks one out. On the contrary, one should strive to find such a person, to consult with, listen to, request teachings from, associate with, and study with the wise. This is called association with the righteous or virtuous. Regardless of who initiates the contact, once there is mutual influence and acknowledgement, the person is said to have virtuous friend, and is to participate in virtuous friendships. Kalayana mitrata. The definition of virtuous friend is not restrictive to the common meaning of a good friend, but it refers to a person who is well equipped to teach, well equipped to advise, well equipped to explain, well equipped to encourage, and well equipped to guide and to act as a role model in the correct path of spiritual training. The Visuddhimagga, written by Venerable Buddhaghosa, often offers examples, including Gautama Buddha, the Arihat's disciples, the teachers, the mentors, and the wise. Learned individuals who are capable of teaching and providing consultation, even those people who are younger than oneself. In the formal development of wisdom, the presence of virtuous friend is classified as the part of the state of sattva, faith. In the wider system of spiritual training, good friendships encompasses a whole range of factors, including the presence of teachers, mentors, and parents. The attributes and skills of one's teachers, the principles, the methods, the techniques, the means of teaching, books and other forms of media, role models. A great being, a Mahapurisa, or someone who is accomplished in the Dhamma, those wholesome and beneficial social environmental factors conducive to wisdom development. 13.3 Importance of good companionship. Bhikkhu, just as the dawn's light is the precursor of the rising of the sun, the dawn's light, alun, so too for a bhikkhu, good friendship is the forerunner and precursor for the arising of the Noble Eightfold Path. When a bhikkhu has a good friend, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate this Noble Eightfold Path. This is the entire holy life, ananta, that is good friendship, good companionship. For when a bhikkhu has a good friend, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path. By relying on me as a good friend, being subject to birth or freed from birth, being subject to aging or free from aging, being subject to death or freed from death, being subject to sorrow, lamentation, subject to pain, subject to grief, and subject to despair, are freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Bhikkhus, just as the dawn's silver and golden light is the precursor to the arising of the sun, so too for a monk, good friendship is the forerunner and precursor for the arising of 7 factors of enlightenment, bojana. When a monk or a bhikkhu has a good friend, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate the 7 factors of enlightenment, the 7 factors of bojana. So, no other thing do I see, O bhikkhu, which is so responsible for causing unarisen wholesome states to arise and arisen unwholesome states to wane as good friendship. He who has good friends, wholesome states not yet arisen will arise, and unwholesome states that have risen will wane. No other thing do I see, O bhikkhus, which is so conducive to great blessings, which is so conducive to the stability, the non-decline, the non-disappearance of the true Dhamma as a good companionship. As to the external factor, I do not see any other factor that is so conducive to the great blessing as a good companion. For a monk who is in training, who has not yet reached the fruit of arihatship, and who aspires towards the unsurpassed security from bondage, I do not see any other external factor that is so beneficial as a good companion. When a bhikkhu has a good friend, he will eliminate the akusala, unwholesome, and cultivate kusala, wholesome, kusa or chanta in this case. When a monk or a bhikkhu has a good friend, it can be expected that he will be virtuous, restrained, careful in respect to the patimokkha, perfect in conduct and resort. He will have the opportunity to listen and to engage in talk according to his wishes in various subjects that refine his character and purify the mind. That is to say, talk on fluidness of wishes, on the application of energy on virtue, concentration, wisdom, liberation, and on the knowledge and vision of liberation. He will be persistent, energetic in abandoning the unwholesome and in perfecting the wholesome. He will be diligent, steadfast, and strong, not neglecting the duty with regard to the wholesome qualities. He will be equipped with wisdom, possessed of noble wisdom, which discerns the rise and fall of phenomenon, gains penetrative insight into defilements, and leads to the complete end of dukkha, the end of suffering. These teachings cited above emphasize the importance and good companionship for a bhikkhu, because it was given by Gautama Buddha to the bhikkhus as the audience. There are, however, many general teachings saying by Gautama Buddha, especially those given to householders, highlighting the importance of association with virtuous people. Good companionship is one factor conducive to realizing immediate everyday benefits. Ditta Dhamma Mikkhata. Associated with evil people is the path to ruin. Apaya Mukha. Contact with and proper conduct towards friends is one aspect of the teaching of the 6 directions. The criteria for choosing friends according to the attributes of true and false friends. Association with honest people is one of the 4 vehicles. Leading to the prosperity is one of the 4 virtues conducted to growth. Visuddhi Dhamma. One of the 4 factors of a stream entry, Sotapatti Yanga. Good friendship is one of the 10 virtues, making the self-reliance Nata Karana Dhamma. In the Jataka tales, which applies to people of all walks of life, especially to the lay people, containing numerous of stories saying pertaining to association with fellowship with others. Furthermore, there are teachings on this subject scattered throughout the Suttaranta Pitaka. For example, not to associate with fools, but to associate with the wise, to honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the supreme blessing. This sort of person you seek out, that is the sort of person you yourself will become. Even if you do no evil, but associate with one who does, you are suspected of evil. Your bad reputation grows. One who associates with bad companions is soon corrupted. When one wraps rotting fish in kusa grass, the grass takes on the foul odor. So it is when one associates with fools. When one wraps agar wood incense in the leaf of a tree, the leaf becomes fragrant. So it is when one associates with the wise. The wise teach those things which should be promoted. They do not encourage stupidity. One should view a wise person who points out faults and speaks reprovingly, like one who reveals a treasure. Let one associate with such a wise person. By doing so, one will improve, not decline. Let him advise, instruct, and dissuade one from evil. Truly cherishes such a person by the good, while dismissed is he by the bad. The wise live together happily, like a group of family members. Walking together 7 steps, one is considered a friend. Walking together 12 steps, one is considered a comrade. Living together for a month or a fortnight, one is considered a relative. Longer than that, it is as if the person is oneself. It is fortunate to have many relatives and companions, like a large grove of trees in the middle of the forest. A tree growing in isolation, no matter how large it grows, can be felled by the wind. If you find a companion who is governed by wisdom, you should travel with him contented and mindful. If you do not find a companion governed by wisdom, you should travel alone and refrain from evil. Let one associate with a friend who is learned, great in goodness, intelligent and discerning, and a companion of the Dhamma. When one has recognized the aspired to goal, as he eliminated doubt, travel alone like the rhinoceros horn. Timely listening to the Dhamma, timely discussing of the Dhamma, this is the supreme blessing. Just as the one who has mounted a flimsy raft would sink upon the mighty ocean, so too a virtuous person sinks. By consorting with a lazy person, thus one should avoid such a person. One remisses, devoid of energy, keeps company with the wise, those who are calm, those who are noble, those who are resolute, and those who are attentive, their energy consistently roused. These quotes, or from these quotes, one is able to see that the teachings on association with others given by Gautama Buddha to the monks aim primarily at the highest goal or ultimate reality, Paramattha, and clearly focus on establishing transcendent right view, Samadhi. The teachings given to general people or to the lay people, on the other hand, emphasize basic everyday benefits, Dhamma or Ditta Dhammikata, combined with profound spiritual benefits, Sammaparaya Kata. These later teachings focus on mutual help and assistance and are generating mundane right view, Samadhi. That is a belief that the law of karma, law of causes and conditions, causes and effects, to recognize one's responsibility in regard to good and bad actions. Kamma sako me, I am the owner of my own actions. Kamma dayato, heir to my own actions. Kamma yoni, born of my own actions. Kamma bandhu, related to my own actions. Kamma pati sarano, abided and supported by my own actions. To recognize one's responsibility into the good and bad actions. For the most part, they do not emphasize transcendent right view, Samadhi. Transcendent right view, subjective right view, subconscious, of seeing phenomenon as it truly exists. These higher transcendent principles are implicit in the mundane teachings. The conscious teachings. However, Gautama Buddha would introduce them as befitting the circumstances. People are at different levels of spiritual maturity. Gautama Buddha would prepare people by gradually laying a foundation for them. The end of 13.3, page 1323.